Howdy folks, I recently picked up this second generation Lenovo Thinkpad T14s with a Ryzen 7 5850U CPU in it. This machine came to me with Windows 11 pre-installed onto it, and since I've been primarily a Linux user for years now, I decided that I would install Ubuntu 24.04 LTS onto it, especially because you could purchase this model ThinkPad from Ubuntu back in 2021 when it released with either Fedora or Ubuntu already installed on it, meaning it has support from the manufacturer. Rather annoyingly though, as per the title, after about 10 to 15 minutes of use with this machine, it would freeze and crash, and then I'd have to power cycle the machine, and then rinse and repeat 10 to 15 minutes later. For whatever reason, it seemed like this machine could not keep an uptime of greater than 10 to 15 minutes with Ubuntu installed. As you can see though, I fixed this problem. Long story short, you're probably going to need to do a BIOS update. More on that in a moment though. Obviously, I don't have footage of the freezing and crashing, otherwise I'd be showing it to you right now. But before you go updating the BIOS or doing anything else, there are two important considerations you need to make. The first is that this specific model of ThinkPad and other models from this generation have soldered on components. You can run a hardware diagnostic test from the boot menu to ensure that all of your hardware is operating exactly as the manufacturer intended. Second, like I said from before, you could actually purchase this machine with either Fedora or Ubuntu Linux from the manufacturer when these released back in 2021. In the BIOS settings, under Config and under Power, you can toggle this from Windows to Linux, and that might be enough to solve your problem because there's different power setting profiles depending on whether you're running Windows or Linux. Now, those considerations out of the way, if you're still encountering this problem, go over to Lenovo's support page and punch in your serial number into their search menu. Then go to Drivers, see all the drivers, click on BIOS UEFI, and download the bootable ISO for the BIOS update. For my machine, there are BIOS updates as recently as May of this year, 2025. So 4 years on, it is still getting BIOS updates. I added the ISO to my Ventoy drive, booted into it, and then just followed the prompts on screen. And after doing that, 95% of all of my problems were completely fixed. Now I say that solved 90 to 95% of my problems because there are still two issues that were causing my machine to crash. And these two other problems are problems that I've seen when loading Linux onto a number of other laptops as well. The first is related to the operating system's power settings. I always keep it in a high performance power setting or the highest power setting possible and not a balanced or standard or power saver setting because for whatever reason when I put it in a balanced or a power saver setting, as soon as I get to a very low load or a very low battery life, for whatever reason the machine will just crash, and I assume that's because it is throttling the amount of power that's being delivered to certain components of the machine, which is then therefore causing it to crash. So I just keep it in a high performance mode and it doesn't really affect my battery life all too terribly much. I'm still reliably able to get at least 8 hours of battery life out of this machine with the original 4-year-old battery in it. The second common problem with a really easy fix was with regard to when I would close the laptop and then open it back up again just to find that my things like my Wi-Fi, my Bluetooth, or other different modules might not be working. This problem happens because by default, when you close a laptop, at least with Ubuntu or other Debian-based distros in my experience, it will put the machine either in a suspended or hibernated state. The fix for this is really simple and straightforward. Just open up Etsy, systemd, and edit the login.conf file. And in there, navigate your way to the handle lid switch key. Uncomment it and change whatever value is there to lock. What that's going to do is it's just going to sign you out of the machine. When you close the lid, the machine will still be on. The screen will very likely turn off. In my experience with this, it turns off. And the machine will still be on, so do note that. But when you open up the machine again, you'll just be asked to put in your password, and then you'll be able to continue using your machine just as like you would have expected it to from before. And so, folks, that is how I fixed this machine, got it fully back up and running. I don't have that crashing issue or the freezing issue from before. It was just as simple as a BIOS update and then messing with a couple of different settings. If you found this helpful, let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you all again next time.